I didn't want to have to do it, but I got to. Respectfully. Welcome, my likings. It's the King of Howls, Almighty Fenrir, here with our debut episode of Wolfin Around. Basically, this is going to be like my little platform where we could talk about things as far as sports, more or less football. Really don't know a lot about basketball. I know a little bit about basketball, but I know more about football. And yeah, you guys can just shoot me questions or like, what do you... my opinions, basically, like what do I think, you know what I'm saying? So you guys can send me your questions, and every Friday I will shout you out, say your handle, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. Just, at me and direct message me and ask me a question, and I'll give you my honest opinion. How good was Karlos Dansby? And a lot of you guys are probably like, that's a odd topic. And it is. It is. But I'll tell you how it all came about. So I'm at work, chilling, looking on Instagram, and there was a post by Pro Football Focus, and it said, which LB1 is the best in the 21st century? And it has Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, Patrick Willis, Zach Thomas, Bobby Wagner, and Luke Kuechly. Now, usually people say a lot of stupid stuff because we already know who number one is, Ray Lewis. And basically everybody else is vying for number two. And I've seen a lot of stupid, comments. People talking about Micah Parsons. I'm like, bro, what? Out of those guys, you're talking about Micah Parsons right now? You're out of your mind. But he's not even like a cover linebacker like how these guys. He's more of a pass rusher. So people just like to talk. I'm just sure. I'm convinced now. People just like to talk. But I've seen one comment that really made me raise an eyebrow, and it was by Karlos Dansby. And he writes, "You might as well take the entire list down if I'm not on it. Check the stats: 40 sacks, 20 interceptions, and 1,400 tackles." And then I wrote, yet it didn't convert to any meaningful wins. With respect, one thing I don't want to do is make it seem like I or most of the American public can do what these guys do. When I was going back and forth with him, and but it was I even told him with respect, because I don't like when people act like what they do is easy. If it was, you'd be doing it. There's a lot of, journalists and people out there who take shots at players, like your Skip Baylesses and your Stephen A. Smiths. They call people names, call them scrubs, this, that, and the third. But it's like, bro, you could not do what they do. So while it's okay to critique them in their game, to call people outright scrubs is just disrespectful. So I will not do that. But I will let you know that there is a difference between Hall of Fame and a really, really good player. One thing he kept talking to me about was his stats. Just to move away from football for a second, let's talk about basketball. There's a lot of players in basketball who put up good numbers who are not going to go to the Hall of Fame. Monte Ellis was killing it before Curry got there. And when Curry was really dealing with ankle injuries, he was the guy putting 30, 40 up a night. He's not going to the Hall of Fame. Kimba, think his name is Kemba Walker. Multiple All-Stars. The guy on his team, 40-30 type of guy, not going to the Hall of Fame. There's a player that made multiple All-Star games, prolific scorer, Joe Johnson. Hats off to him. Actually, one of my favorite players. Not going to the Hall of Fame. It's because there's a difference between Hall of Good and Hall of Fame. Deion Sanders said it best. There's a difference between the Hall of Fame, Hall of Good. Can they tell the football story without you? Can they tell the basketball story without you? Did you make so much of an impact that we cannot talk about the sport without mentioning you? There's a lot of things that go into making a Hall of Famer. Karlos Dansby was going back and forth with me, and he was saying, check my stats, numbers don't lie. Well, numbers don't lie. I'll agree with that, but they also don't tell the full story. What makes a Hall of Famer, in my opinion, and most people's opinion? Longevity, right? Not only longevity, sustained greatness for a period of time. You just can't have one good year. Longevity, right? All pros, Pro Bowls to a lesser extent, because, those are kind of like voted on nowadays, but Pro Bowls, All Pros, Super Bowls, NFC, AFC championship games. Were you dominant? How long were you dominant? And I would say for you to even be on somebody's radar for a Hall of Fame, you had to be dominant, not good, dominant for at least 5 years. You also have to be top 3 in your position for at least 5 years. And like I said, meaningful wins. So let's look at Karlos Dansby's number, because he's saying, numbers don't lie, this, that, and the third. So again, he made 1,419 tackles, 43 sacks, 20 interceptions. Guess what? Damn good career. Damn good. Should be proud of yourself. But again, numbers can be misleading, because I just railed off a lot of players who did good in basketball. They're not going to the Hall of Fame. Let's look at football. Steven Jackson, I believe, is one of the best running backs that played for the Rams. Multi-time pro, probably not going to the Hall of Fame. Let's look at another player. People like Torrey Holt can't even get in yet. Cam Chancellor might get in, because injuries derailed him as well. Who's some pass rushers? Simeon Rice, I don't think is in. Prolific numbers. Let's just ask you a question. You think Robert Quinn's getting in? Probably not. And he has, over 100 sacks? So it's like, numbers don't always tell the full story. Joe Flacco, I think this year, just passed up Joe Montana. Is Joe Flacco better than Joe Montana? Is Joe Flacco going to the Hall of Fame? Probably not, sir. Probably not. So, numbers, they don't tell the full story. They don't. But again, let's go back to Karlos Dansby. So, let's look at his accomplishments. I'm looking from Wikipedia. I understand Wikipedia doesn't always have the correct answer, but let me know on the bottom if I'm wrong. He was second team All-Pro in 2013. He only has one All-Pro to his name, and it's second team. Still good, but you only have one. Only one. It was in 2013. And then you are a part of the all-rookie team in 2004. You didn't even win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So you didn't win Defensive Rookie of the Year, and you was only All-Pro once, and it was second team in 2013. Yet you had a 14-year career because you played from 2004 to 2017. 10 years to be 14, 3. You had a 13-year career. Give or take 13, 14-year career. You made one All-Pro, no Pro Bowls, and you made a rookie team. All right. So I looked at your best years, and your best years, I would say, for you, was 2006, and I think the year y'all went to the Super Bowl, which was 2013, was it? Nope, hold on. Oh, dang. So the year that y'all actually went to the Super Bowl was 2008, that 2008 season, and that wasn't even your best year. Ooh. Okay, so again, I think your best year was 2006. You can put we'll put 2008 in there because you guys made it to the Super Bowl. And then I'll say 2013 was your best years. Now, longevity makes your case for Hall of Fame is longevity, sustained greatness. Can't have no up and down seasons. It's sustained greatness. At least for a period of 5 years. Top player in your position, at least top 3. And like I said, all the accolades. You have a very up and down career. Very up and down. Your combined tackles since you played in a year, about 13, 14 years, you went over the 100 mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of a 14-year career, you went over the 100 mark 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. You went over the 100 mark 7 times. Just trying to double count to make sure I'm not playing you. So you went over the 100 mark 7 times in your 14-year career. Then you said you have 43 sacks. It sounds good. It sounds good. But let's keep it a buck. You had the most sacks you ever had was 8. And this is how your sack total goes from your rookie year until you retired. 5, 4, 8, 3.5, 4, 1, 3, 2, 1, 6.5, 3, 0, 1, 1. So your best statistical sack year was in 2006, which is your 3rd year, and you had 82 tackles, 8 sacks, and no picks. Now, that's a pretty solid year. Damn good year, if you ask me. Especially for a middle linebacker, damn good. But if you want to argue, maybe you should have won Defensive Player of the Year for that year, well, let's just do something simple. Let's see who won it. Defensive Player of the Year that year was Jason Taylor. Well, what did Jason Taylor do that year? Jason Taylor in 2006 had 13.5 sacks, had 9 forced fumbles. He recovered 2 of them, and he had 2 interceptions. At DN, he had 13.5 sacks, 9 forced fumbles, 2 recovered, 2 inners. And then he had 2 touchdowns. So yeah, you didn't have a better season than them. Good, but not better than him. Okay, well, let's look at the All-Pro team. Okay, All-Pro inside linebackers was Zach Thomas and Brian Urlacher. Just so happens to be the 2 guys that was also on that list. Well, let's look at Zach Thomas 2006. Let's look at his numbers. In 2006, Zach Thomas had 165 tackles and led the league in that. He had 3 sacks and 1 inner. And then he had 2 forced fumbles as well. So he led the league in tackles. 165, put up 3 picks, and then 3 sacks, 1 pick, 2 forced fumbles. He also had 103 solos. By himself, he had 103. Okay. And then let's look at Brian Urlacher, 2006. Brian Urlacher had 142 tackles. He had 93 solos. He had 3 interceptions as well. He had no sacks. And he had a forced fumble as well. So then let's look at you. You had 82 tackles. They had more tackles. You had 82 combined tackles. They had more tackles solos than you had combined. You had 69 tackles at middle linebacker. 69. Now, while you might have everybody beat in sacks, you had no inners. You had 2 forced fumbles. So at middle linebacker, they had 100 and something tackles. You had 82. You had possibly the most you had was 8 sacks, but then the defensive player of the year had 13.5 and 9 forced fumbles. You only had 2 forced fumbles. He had 9. And then he had 13.5 sacks. And then he still had 2 inners. So he wasn't winning defensive player of the year. And then the linebackers that were ahead of you had way more tackles. And interceptions, you had none. They at least had some. And so the only statistical place that you beat him in was sacks. Well, sacks is not really looked upon at middle linebacker. So it's good that you had it, but you weren't better than those guys. Also, the guys that I named were all the driving forces on their teams. Brian Urlacher was the man on his team. He was the guy. When the offense went to talk about who we have to stop, first name is Brian Urlacher for the Bears. They had other good pieces, but the main guy they said we have to cue on was Brian Urlacher. For the Dolphins, they had 2 guys. I'll admit, Zach Thomas was probably number 2, but Jason Taylor was definitely number 1. Let's look at who you had on your team that year that you had those 8 sacks. Let's see. Okay, so I'm already looking at a defensive Pro Bowler on the team, and that was Adrian Wilson. So let's see. Who else was on your defensive squad? Darnell Dockett, Pro Bowler. Gotta watch out for him. Let's see who else you had. Antrell Roll. Gotta watch out for him. I'll admit he probably wasn't the guy at that time, but Antrell was always nice. Until he moved to safety and he was really a problem. But Adrian Wilson was always that guy. I remember Antonio Smith was really good, but I don't know if he was good at that time. So yeah, he made the Pro Bowl in 2011. So he wasn't that guy necessarily then. But you weren't the guy on defense. Definitely Darnell Dockett was the guy, was probably the second or third best player on the team because he made the Pro Bowl 2007, 2009, 2010. So in your year of 2006, he was just gonna make the Pro Bowl. Wait, let's see. 2007, 9, 10. So yeah, he made the Pro Bowl the very next year. But Adrian Wilson was always a problem. But again, that was your third year. So now, let's look at the year after that. The very next year, you dipped in sack totals. You went from 8 sacks to 3.5. You plus 2'd in forced fumbles, and then you added 3 interceptions. Pretty good. But you had 97 combined tackles. So you improved on your solo tackles, you improved on your combined tackles, but you dipped in sacks. So at linebacker, you're supposed to have, especially at the middle, you see everything. Especially the really, really good ones, you having 100 or less. I mean, you're having 100 or more. You still didn't even top 100. You had 97, but you still didn't top 100. So was that a good year? 97 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 3 inners. Yes, but does that scream elite? No. What did you do after that year? Well, you actually made 100 tackles, 119. You did a half a sack better. No, you did half a sack better. You minus 2 in forced fumbles, and you had 1 less inner. Again, good year, but not crazy stats. And then you did another 100 with 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, and 1 inner. Then you got shipped off to Miami. You had 95 tackles. Still, you're dipping in production. No more 100 tackles. You had 3 sacks, no inners. But you scream that you're supposed to be a Pro Bowl. You scream you're supposed to be a Pro Bowler, and you scream that you're supposed to be a Hall of Famer. Yet and still, you have peaks and valleys in your numbers. You like this. Hall of Famers are like this. And then once they get here, they're like this. You're like this. You never really peaked really, really high. But even then, when you did do well, you would go like this. So let's go to your 2013 year, where statistical, that's probably your best year. You had 122 tackles, 6.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, and 4 inners. And that's the year you won second team. Good for you. Good for you. But then you thought that's the year you should have won Defensive Player of the Year. That's crazy. But crazy enough that we should look into it. Let's see who did win Defensive Player of the Year that year. That's crazy. It's Luke Kuechly. Let's look at Luke Kuechly's numbers versus yours. So Luke Kuechly in 2013 had 156 tackles, 2 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, and 4 picks. So 4 interceptions. He matched you in interceptions. He had 2 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, lapped you in tackles because he had 156, and he anchored the best defense that year. I believe that's the year they went to the What year was what did they? What was 2000? What was the year that year? So they lost in the divisional round, but they were the first seed. They were first in the division. They lost to the playoffs to the Niners, but he was the guy on that defense. And they had a 12-4 record. All right. So let's look at what your record was the year that you thought you guys should have did something. You guys were 10-6, and you guys were third in the NFC West. Well, you didn't have better numbers overwhelmingly than Luke Kuechly, and he anchored the number 1 defense. And he did it with basically no real help, because the best player, he was the best player, but his help was, at that time, let's look. So we have Greg Hardy, who made the Pro Bowl, but did Greg Hardy make a Pro Bowl after that? No, he did not, because he benefited with playing with a great player, but then after that, he just, Let's see. K1 Shorts. He was okay, 2-time Pro Bowler, more Pro Bowls than you, but not a really crazy stat line. But again, benefited from the better playing with a better teammate. So that's the D line basically. K1 Short and Greg Hardy. Linebackers, we had Luke Kuechly, David Thomas, not gonna lie, pretty good player. Made the Pro Bowl that year. But again, we know who the driving force behind that team was. Let's see what his numbers was that year. Statistically, he had a better. Statistically, Davis had better numbers than you. Yeah, statistically, he had better numbers than you. I think you had him in the sack department, but he had 4. You had 6.5, 2.5 more. But he killed you in tackles. And then corner, we have Josh Norman. Was Josh Norman even Josh Norman back then? Josh Norman only made 1 Pro Bowl. That's in 15. So I don't even think Josh Norman was Josh Norman yet. No, he wasn't, because Josh Norman he had 2013 even start, and he played 7 games. So yeah. So this guy had a 12-14, and he was the guy. All right, so let's look at what you did. Because you remember, you're the man, right? I don't think you were the man. But 2013, you guys go 10-6. Okay? And then you guys lost. What? You guys didn't even go to the playoffs. So, Mr. Big Man, you didn't even make the playoffs. That year that you thought you did so well, you don't even make the playoffs? How do you think you win? How do you think you win Defensive Player of the Year and don't even make the playoffs? And again, you're not even the guy on your team at that point, because I see two players that make the Pro Bowl that was on defense: John Abraham and Patrick Peterson. So at this time, you have Calais Campbell, Darnell Dockett on the D line. Dan Williams wasn't. I ain't gonna leave a lie. Dan Williams wasn't all that. Calais Campbell, Darnell Dockett was on the D line. So those guys automatically are dogs. And I would have ranked them higher than you. Then you got John Abraham, who we already know ranks higher than you. And he played outside linebacker. Then at corner, we got Patrick Peterson, who ranks higher than you at his position. And I think, let me see. Okay, so if we had to put a hierarchy of the guys before it came to you, because Luke Kuechly was number one, Ray Lewis was number one, Urlacher was number one, Zach Thomas was two, Patrick Willis was number one, and there was one more guy. I think we already said, Wagner. Wagner became number one, but when the Legion of Boom, he was probably number four. So you had Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas. In my opinion, I think Richard Sherman was better at his job than Earl Thomas was, but it's a toss up. So I wouldn't even be mad if you put one or two. But you had Earl Thomas, Sherman, one or two. Then you had Cam Chancellor. Then you had Wagner. When those three guys left, then Bobby became number one. And then there was a stretch where Bobby Wagner was, if not the best middle linebacker at that point in time, he was definitely one or two with him and Kuechly. On your team, I would say Patrick Peterson is one, Calais Campbell's two, Darnell Dockett's three. You're probably fourth at this point in your career. And this is the year you think you're supposed to be, and this is not early in your career where it was early in Bobby Wagner's career. 2013, you're looking at year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You're 10 years in, buddy, and you're not the best player in your defense. After you guys lose, they ship you off to Cleveland, where again, your stuff is up and down. You had 100 tackles, thank you, but you had no sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 enters. Nope, I'm lying. That's your second year. Your first year there, after they shipped you off, you had 93 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 pick. So you see how your numbers, they fluctuate? You're like this. Then the year after that, you had 108 tackles, no sacks, and 3 picks. Then you go to Cincinnati, you had 114 tackles, 1 sack, no enters. Then you go back to Arizona, 95 tackles, 1 sack, 1 enter. So you see how your numbers, at no point do I'm like, do you have like year? You can't even put back-to-back years of greatness. Not one time did you have back-to-back years of like, that's some elite level play. I can get you any numbers from any player that's on that list that have back-to-back years of great play. You can't even put back-to-back years of great play. Yet and still you think you're one of the great players? Just because you got numbers doesn't tell the whole story. You never once put 2 back-to-back years of sustained greatness. And I'm splitting hairs with you saying you had 2 good years. Out of a 14-year career, you had probably 2 really good years for you, for your standards. But again, let's go back to these. I'm already cooking you with all these numbers and your stuff. But let's go. Let's see. Let's start from your rookie year. 2004 Arizona Cardinals. You guys go 6-10. Who was the best player in your defensive team? It says that a guy named Bertrand Berry, DN, went to the Pro Bowl. I don't even know who he is, but we'll use him. So on that team, you had Berry. I know Darnell Dockett. Calvin Pace was there. Kyle Vandenbosch. I remember him. He was nice. So he's ahead of you. Definitely. DBs. Adrian Wilson. Okay. So on that team, as a rookie, definitely Adrian Wilson's ahead of you. Cal Vandenbosch is ahead of you. And Bertrand Berry's ahead of you. You might got a chance with Darnell Dockett in his rookie year. So yeah, you probably got Darnell Dockett. So right now you're fourth. So not only you're fourth, you're probably fourth best on your defensive team, and your team went 6-10. Okay, let's go to the next year. 2005, you guys go. Hold on. 2005, you guys go 5-11. So another losing season. And let's see. Let's see that roster. Give or take, you're still probably fourth best on your defense. Still fourth best. You're still not the guy. Okay? And another losing season. All right, let's go. 2006 season. Guys are 5-11 again. But you're the best, right? All right. So 3 years in, you have not had a winning season yet. Forget playoffs. You haven't even had a winning season. That's what defenders do. They make players around them better, especially at middle linebacker. You're the guy. You're supposed to be, at least. You're supposed to be the quarterback of the defense. You're supposed to make players around you better. You're supposed to galvanize everybody. They feed off you. So far, you guys are trash for the first 3 years. And you're still not even the man. Barry's still on that team. Dockett's still on the team. But again, I'm not going to count Dockett yet. Because Dockett didn't make the Pro Bowl until 2007. And right now we're in 2006. So we're creeping up next year. Adrian Wilson, Antrell Roll, and Barry. So you're still fourth best, at best. Still fourth best. All right. 2007. You guys are finally 8-8. But guess what? You're still not the guy. Because on that defense, they had Darnell Dockett, who is now a Pro Bowler, Antrell Roll, who's still there. Adrian Wilson says he's injured, but I don't know how many games he played. But these are still, and then Barry's also on the team. So now you didn't went from fourth best player to definitely at least fifth best player, because Dockett's now a Pro Bowler. So you're fifth best on the team that's finally doing well. You're fifth best on the team now. Okay. 8-8. So your first winning season is not even technically a winning season. You guys just broke even. 8-8. So now what year? What are we in now? So 2008. 9-7. This is the year you guys go to the Super Bowl. We're not even talking about the offense, because we know that you guys are being led by your offense. But let's go about defense. Let's see who's the best players on defense. Calais Campbell's Darnell Dockett, Bro, I want to say DRC is better than you because he had 4 picks. And he made the Pro Bowl the next year. So I'm going to say that. DRC is better than you. Aaron Rose at free safety now. That's when he started really cooking. He's better. And then Adrian Wilson. So now, is Barry still on the team? No. So now you like 6th best. You like 6th best on that team that made it to the Super Bowl. You're 6th best. You're not the 1st best. You're definitely not the 2nd best. Definitely not. You're not the 3rd best. And you're not, bro, you're like the 6th best player on the team that made it to the championship. And you guys were 9-7 that year. All right. Then you go 2009. You guys are 10-6. You won the playoff game, but then you lost in divisional. And you got blew out by the Saints. Well, where were you at, Mr. All-Defensive guy? Again, you don't even make the Pro Bowl. Adrian Wilson did. Darnell Dockett did. Cromartie did. Antrell Roll did. And Adrian Wilson made 1st team, and Darnell Dockett made 2nd team. So, let's look at the players on that team. Defensively, Calais Campbell's better than you. Darnell Dockett's better than you. DRC's better than you. Antrell Roll's better than you. And Wilson's better than you. So you're probably like 6th best on that team. It's crazy. The more and more better players on the team, the more better they are, and the worse. It's like the less good you are, the better the team is. That's crazy. And anybody can argue me about this too. If you don't believe that DRC, Calais Campbell, Dockett, Adrian Wilson were all better at their positions than he was at his positions, or even just the best players on their team, please, I would love to hear your comeback. But I don't think I'm going to get any. So then they ship you off to Miami, my team. And they go 7-9. So let's see so now you're in a new team. Hey, maybe you finally need your breakout place to be by yourself so you can really show people how good you really are. So let's see. All right. So Randy Starks, he's better because he's a Pro Bowler. Let's see. Cameron Wake, a beast. He's a Pro Bowler. Jeremiah Bell was in the Pro Bowl in 2009. So he's better than you. So you're looking at probably the 4th best player on your team. So you see how you're rising up again? And the team goes back under 500? We need at least like 6 players better than you for then you guys to do well. So yeah, I have Randy Starks better than you. I have Cameron Wake better than you. I'll put you 3rd best on your team. At that point in time, you're probably the 3rd best player on your team. Because you got Randy Starks, Cameron Wake, Jeremiah Bell. Let's see what Bell did. What year was this? 2010. Let's see what his stats is like. Because you might be back to 4th best. So Bell had 101 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, one recovery, and 1 interception in 2010. So you had 100 tackles. So let's look what you had in 2010. Mr. Playmaker. So a safety had more tackles than you. You had 1.5 sacks. You had 3. You didn't have an interception. He at least had 1. Come on, bro. So yeah, you back to 4th. You're the 4th best player. You're the 4th best player on your team defense that went 7-9. So then let's go to 2011. You guys are 6-10. Do you guys even, do your teams don't win when you're on the team? So that year, they had Starks again, better than you. Cameron Wake, better than you. Jeremiah Bell, I'm going to say better than you. So yeah, you're give or take, you're about 1, 2. Give or take, you're about third or fourth best on the team. You're still not the guy. You're not even second the guy. You're the third or fourth best player on a losing team. 6-10. All right. So now we go to 2012. 7-9. You guys still can't win. Randy Starks makes another Pro Bowl, and so does Cameron Wake. But let's see who else is on the team. So right then and there, right there, your third best player on the team right now. Let's see who else is on that team. We definitely have Wake better and Starks is better. Right now you're sitting at 3. Okay, Rashad Jones, does he make the Pro Bowl yet? Nope, not yet. So I'll still keep. I'll help. I'll be fair and say he's not there yet. So you are arguably the third best player on your team. Okay, third best player on your team. You guys are 7-9. Didn't make the playoffs. Didn't go to the Pro Bowl. 2 guys did, and your numbers were pedestrian because your numbers for that year were. Well, actually, you had good tackle numbers. You had 134 tackles combined, but you only had 1 sack and no inners. So was you posted was that an all-pro year for you? That an all-pro year? 134 tackles, 1 sack, and no inners on a 7-9 team? Give me a break. So then you go back to Arizona. And this is in 2013. You guys actually have a winning record, but it's third in the West, and you didn't make the playoffs. You're 10-6. So let's look at who's the best players on your defense. Calais Campbell is still better than you. Darnell Dockett is still better than you. John Abraham is better than you. Jeremiah Bell, damn, he ain't followed your ass? Okay, Jeremiah Bell's still not better than you. So, wait a minute, I remember Darryl Washington. Darryl Washington made the Pro Bowl the year before. So now Darryl Washington's better than you. So that's 4 players better than you. So you're sitting at 5 right now. Then you got Patrick Peterson. You're looking at 6 right now. Uh-oh. Lorenzo Alexander made the Pro Bowl. They're like the 7th best player on the team right now. Tyrann Mathieu. Hold on. Was Tyrann Mathieu better than you in this year? 2003? 13? He hadn't made the Pro Bowl yet. Let's see what his numbers is. He had cool numbers, but I'm not going to even say that he was better than you at that point. So you're looking at probably the 6th or 7th best player on your team right now. So then they ship you off to Cleveland. You guys go 7-9, so another losing season. And there's 3 guys that make the Pro Bowl: Gibson, Hayden, Whitner. So you're looking at probably 4th best on your team right now. But let's see. So I'll say give or take, you are probably the fourth best player on the defense. So at that point, you're probably fourth best on the defense. So you're probably never once were you the man, bro. Never once were you the man. So that was 2014. Let's look at 2015. You guys go 3-13. Holy moly! No one on your defense made the Pro Bowl. But let's see who's on your defense. Randy Starks came back on that ass, so he's better than you. So right now you got one player better than you. So right now you're looking at number 2. Tayshaun Gibson's still there. And Whitner. Is Hayden still on the team? No, Hayden's on the IR. So I'll say you're the so watch this. You're the third best player on the team. You finally moved up to where you're at least the third best player on the team. Third or fourth best player on the team. And y'all go 3-13. Holy moly. Then you go to Cincinnati. 6-9-1. Third in the AFC, did not make the playoffs. Let's look who's on your let's see, hold on. I see 2 players that made the Pro Bowl that made on defense. Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins. Okay, so let's look. Geno Atkins was better than you. Dunlap was better than you. Michael Johnson might even be better than you. What year is this? 2016. What is his numbers? So his numbers I can't really see right now. So right now I'll even say that you're better than him right now. So right now you're the third best player on the team. Third best. Then you got Fontes Burfict. And Vontaze Burfict is a Pro. Oh no, he was already a Pro Bowler. Called 2013, 2006, 16. You know what? I'll say that he's better than you because he made a Pro Bowl. Ray Mataluga, he was nice. He just I don't know what happened to him. Adam Jones. Adam Jones is definitely better than you at his position. And he had 3 picks himself that year. So yeah, he was definitely better than you. So I'll say that Geno was better than you. Dunlap was definitely better than you. Adam Jones was better than you. And at this point in your career, Vontaze Burfict is better than you. So you're like 5th best right now. You're like 5th best right now. Then we have your last season in Arizona, 2017. You guys go 8-8. Chandler Jones is a Pro Bowler, Budda Baker is a Pro Bowler, and also Patrick Peterson. So right now you're looking at 4th. But let's see if it goes down even more. So Budda, Tyrann Mathieu, hold on. 2017. Was he Tyrann back then? 2017? Yep, he was. So you got Chandler Jones, Budda, because it's 17. Yep, he was all pro that year. So Pro Bowl. So yeah, you got Budda Baker, Chandler Jones, Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu. That's 4 at least right now. Just say definitely. Jones was better at his position than you was. Budda was better. Tyrann was better. Patrick is better. So you're looking at fifth best player in your defense. So at no point, bro, were you ever at least the second best player. And it's debatable if you're third, but a lot of times you wasn't even third. At best, you were like the fourth best player in your team. And you guys did nothing but lose. I'll wait for your rebuttal, but it's crazy right now. You did most of your time losing. Every player that was on that Hall of Fame list did a lot of winning. And they made it to Super Bowls. And they were multi-time Pro Bowls, multi-time All-Pros, was seen as the guy, or at least second best, at some point in their career. And they had sustained greatness, sustained numbers. You went like this a lot of times, played 14 years, went like this. You guys never really won. Like, come on, bro. Come on. I didn't want to do it to you, but come on, man. Let's be real. But like I said, man, I'll await your rebuttal, but it's going to be kind of hard, bro. It's going to be kind of hard. Again, you never put any back-to-back seasons together. So anytime you want to rebuttal and tell me about Luke Kuechly, I can tell you what his back-to-back numbers was versus your back-to-back number. Whatever year you said, whatever year you thought you did, you can let me know what was your greatest year. From your mouth, I want to hear what your greatest year was. And then I'm going to see what year you did after that. And then I'm going to go to whatever, and then I'm going to pick any number of any of those players' years, and I'm going to tell you what they did immediately after that. At no time was you the best player on your team. At not one time on your career, you were never the best player on your team. Never. Chris Middleton in basketball, second best player on this team. Multi-time All-Stars. He going to the Hall of Fame? Probably not. And he would say like that, just because you have good numbers and All-Stars and you can even win a ring, it doesn't mean you're going to the Hall of Fame. And the Hall of Fame is probably the hardest thing to go to the Hall of Fame in. Probably the hardest. And you? Bro, I can name off 20 linebackers in the history of football that's better than you. And some are currently playing. I would take Wagner over you. Bobby Wagner. I'd take him over you. I'd take Roquan Smith over you. I'd take Fred Warner over you. At middle, not even a question. Not a question. Because they were at least best players on their defense. At some point in time, they were better in defense than you were. Because, again, you were never the number one player, and they were at least the number one players on their defenses. Just saying, man. I'll await your rebuttal. But like I said, you guys follow me on Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, all that. It'll be at the end of the video. Add me. And then, like I said, if you guys want to ask me any questions, I'll rebuttal to them on Fridays. And, yeah, any questions you got, I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll shout you out. Until then, let me go ahead and get that. Ho! And I'll see you in my next video.